One. Hola, ballers, and a brofist to you all! What a week it has been! Alatreon destroyed after 4 days of relentless effort and murder and victory. It's been amazing. I recommend you check it. It was a wondrous moment, enjoyed by many, as we persevered and pushed through and got there. And that means our Monster Hunter World journey is scheduled to end. On Monday, we will be looking at Fat Boss Alice to see what that has. We had a little day of gearing up and getting ready for all those things, as well as, of course, the FF14 live letter, which you can check out on our TDP channel of watching along with all those things. But been truly a wondrous journey in preparation for the oncoming wild storm that is heading our way. For those of you who played the beta, you probably know what's coming. I will remain in the dark until it happens. But that's not why you're here right now, because it's drama time, and across the world, people have been sending wonderful tales in of the crazy things that happen in the MMO world, and I would love to hear from any who have been working together in the Monster Hunter situations about the strange things that may happen there. They're not limited, of course, to the MMOs as standard formula, your WoWs, your FFs, your Guild Wars, etc. Every time we step into this online world and do some co-op multiplayer gaming, we start encountering other individuals. And we always like to point out, or have some entertainment, but also point out the red flags that might be shining and waved brightly. And you can send your tales to us at drama@preachgaming.com. A simple email in any form you wish. PDF, doc, notepad, written on your phone while on the toilet, whatever it might be. I have 3 stories in front of me today that have been vetted by our wonderful Lady Bex. There's one that she particularly likes. I'm not sure if this needs like a trigger warning. Maybe. I assume not. But we'll see. You know, things can get a little weird on occasion. A drunk driver saves Orgrimmar, which seems counterintuitive, but we'll see. It seems antithetical to how things normally happen. We don't need a name here for this, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes. All right, let's have a little look-see. Preacher, I require the jury. Oh no, I do not need the jury or the gavels out, for I come to you with a confession. We have a confessional, my friends. We have somebody who is seeking penance and seeking the absolvement of the Drama Time Court. Justice Mike, I know I am guilty. However, I do not need your punishment or admonishment. I believe the universe has already delivered justice upon me. Well, I can tell you this, author. We shall be the judge of that. Mikey, listeners, I wish to take you back to 2008. I was in college at the time. My car was a beautiful dark grey 1988 Ford Tempo with no air conditioning. All right, let's have, I don't know what that is. That's an American car, I guess. I don't remember a Ford Tempo ever rocking the shores of the UK. Oh, she's glorious. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. Oh. Feast your eyes. Now, I will forewarn any of the ladies in the chat that you may need to take some sort of birth control after you witness this, because it is a panty dropper. If I was to describe it to our audio listeners, what I behold in front of my eyes is good, solid edges, very rigid, going for that cubic aesthetic, very shiny. It has what appears to be a sporty black central trim line, about 3 inches in height, that definitely increases its speed, probably 5x, I would imagine. I believe those are maybe 9-inch rims that are covering this beast, and a steering wheel so thin it reminds me of scratching myself. You seem. Look at it on the road. This is it in motion. It's a blur. I have clicked on an image of it actually in motion, and the image is blurred due to the velocity, the sheer velocity that this vehicle is traveling at. It's an astonishing piece of kit. Technology run wild is what I would describe that as. Oh, yeah. So fast. So fast. Mike, earlier that year, after one particularly hot summer drive back to my childhood home, I had myself a great idea. I convinced my parents to let me paint the car a lighter colour in the hopes that it would make the long drives between my parents' house and college with the heat cooler. Was it black? Oh, it's dark grey. That's an interesting strategy for cooling the car down. Yeah. We're going to paint it. What? Are we going full white? They agreed. Together, my parents and I taped the handles, taped the window edges, and spray painted the car your favorite school bus yellow. Huh. It's a choice. That's a choice. So you made yourself a banana car. A banana Ford Tempo is what you made yourself. A piss car. Yeah, I mean, my guy made a piss car. All right. Now, there was a problem. None of us really knew the kind of requirements for painting a car. It was an awful, awful paint job. It was also, once we saw it dry, an absolutely hideous colour. And what made it worse, the car now seemed hotter than before. Great success. Great success. Oh, phenomenal job. Literal piss car. Patchy and grim. Oh, God. I was living in the armpit of Minnesota at the time. Spain. I was in a small town, but my friends and I, we had each other. We were close. And of course, amongst us all, we had ourselves some World of Warcraft. My friends had a house with a pretty cool basement. And lacking a laptop at the time, I'd regularly haul my entire PC setup over to their house so we could all play together in these early shenanigans of LAN parties. I want to take you to when the launch of Wrath of the Lich King was about to happen. There were forum posts about assholes intentionally getting infected with the zombie plague, running into the most populated area they could find and then intentionally casting zombie explode, killing yourself and infecting everyone else in the area so they would spread it. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you. The zombie outbreak was fucking hilarious. It was so fun. And it wasn't even that bad. It was really fun. I hate that they had to turn it off. I really hate that they capitulated and turned it off. It was so fun. I know why it was annoying, but it was also really fun. It was... Yeah, they cancelled. I think it lasted 4 days. And then they had to deactivate it. You wish you were old enough to be that. It was great. It was so good. I did it for hours. I was that guy. I would just run around constantly in Orgrimmar and just get anybody who'd rezzed or anything. I got them all. I infected the crap out of everybody. It was my whole weekend, dude. It was so fun. Normal players could get cleansed, but a lot of NPCs could not. And some dickheads kept killing all the bankers. Yeah, but the bank was like a place everyone was trying to get to. So if you wanted to infect a lot of people, the bank was a great place to do it. So they would also kill all the goblins around the auction house and every other important NPC that would anger other players. You can live a weekend. Now, I thought this sounded amazing. Yay! Okay, we're on the same boat. I thought this sounded fucking amazing. And all my friends were 100% on board with destroying our hometown of Orgrimmar. So, in order to make it absolutely efficient as possible, I packed up the PC and got over to my friend's place, parked my car in front of their house, and dragged my PC downstairs for a night of fun. Is someone going to total your sex cabin? No way, the meat wagon? Unbelievable. I never thought I would have more fun in WoW than griefing Alliance. But it turns out the only thing better than griefing the opposite faction is griefing your own faction. That short time was the best time I have ever had to this day playing World of Warcraft. It wasn't that good. The simple act of becoming infected, avoiding the healers, and then just running to the most annoying location and infecting as many people as possible while you and your friends were laughing maniacally was unbeatable. It was really funny. While we were laughing and filling the air with our joy, a knock at the door. We were a little concerned because it was the Popo. We had been so distracted by killing innocent civilians that we completely missed the noise that had happened outside. A drunk driver had crashed into and totaled the pussy wagon. My beautiful, bright fucking yellow parked car. How the hell did you miss? Oh no, we have pictures of it? Oh dear. Oh, it's bad. Holy crap. You did this intentionally to your car. I mean, this guy did you a favor, right? Let's behold the piss wagon. Again, pregnancy warning in the chat here. Behold greatness. Again, for audio listeners, just imagine the most horrific yellow you can possibly imagine. Sploosh. Look, and listen, audio listeners, there's no way I can describe the horror of this vehicle to you. You're going to have to check the video. You really went all out, by the way. Like, there's not a nook and cranny left over. It looks like a dull Manhattan cab. Correct. Like the yellow cabs in New York, but like dull and slightly not even. If you look at the paint job down here, it's not. Can I magnify this picture? Let's enhance. This is not okay. This is not okay. You can see the under grey where they've missed bits. And grey here. None of the roof line is straight. It's all a mess. All the way along it. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. That looks like some of the... There's rust down below. They didn't miss they used spray paint? Yeah, but they clearly didn't put the tape on properly. That's not to do with the crash, actually. This rust here. Oh, I love that the yellow's got onto the rubber as well. And we didn't even bother to wipe it off. That would have taken a cloth 2 seconds to just rub the paint off. And you didn't even bother. And as it's described, here she is, my beautiful chariot. Oh, wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. To be fair, it's the 80s. Rust was kind of badge of honor at the 80s. It was all right. It was okay. It's not a chariot of piss. You stop calling everything yellow piss. In a weird twist of fate, the driver tried to get away on foot, but the cops had snagged him. His car, of course, not in... Cars, I mean, in the 80s in the US, cars might not be registered properly. I've heard a ton of stories, like, back in the day, where people would commit crimes in one state and then just flee to the other state, and because there was no, like, centralized FBI, I guess, they kind of just got away with it. Like, you could just go to the next state and it was like, whatever. None of the information seemed to travel across state lines. No, it was 1980s. Yeah, it's 2000. Oh, true. Yeah, true. I got confused because the car was 1980s. Yeah, it's when Wrath of the Lich King launched. So it's 2008. Yeah, true. The cops caught him. Well, I know the driver was very inebriated. As you can see from the pictures, the car was nearly impossible not to notice. Shockingly, the driver didn't have insurance. And shockingly, he also didn't have any money. I'll be honest with you, Mike. I was pretty upset at the time. I was a college student. It was my car. I didn't love the car. But it was my car, and I used it a lot. But now I'm just glad that he didn't hit anything else, as we were in a residential neighborhood. It killed the whole mood of the LAN party. And not long after the invasion intensified to the point where everyone was dead in all the cities anyway. Despite all of us eventually leaving WoW, I'm still friends with them to this day. And for good reason. Every time I visit the Orgrimmar orphanage... How often are you going to the in-game orphanage, out of interest? Like a lot? Or... I mean... I feel some twinge of guilt still. But justice has been served. At least I hope so. Because I just bought a new car. Okay, you can afford a new car. I mean, I get it. When my car was destroyed when I was a college student, my car also got destroyed. A window fell on it. It fell 3 stories onto the roof of my car and absolutely destroyed it. It wasn't... I was still sad, even though it was a dirt cheap, nasty car. Okay. Our next little tale here is about something I think we've all encountered before. And we all know it. And we're okay with it. But it's still not good. Oh, I hope this isn't really sad. No, the roof caved in, but the car was still drivable. I got free rent for like a year and a half. It was awesome. I just drove around in a broken car. I'm not an elitist, so it's fine. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to this right now, I want to tell you the tale of Parasweepers. Parasweepers is a legend. But Parasweepers is not a legend because of his power, his damage, or his skill. No. Parasweepers' legend was born from something deeper. It was born from his heart. It was born from his humor. And it was born from his ability to make everything we did together in games, in particular WoW, just that little bit brighter. Even when, after a raid fight, where he didn't die, he pulled 200k DPS in a world where the average was in the millions, we still look at him as a legend. I wish to share the tale of Parasweepers. Parasweepers stood on the steps of Orgrimmar, his enormous, hulking, Tauren frame casting a shadow over the bustling city. He was gearing up for yet another raid. And despite his will, his determination, his best intentions, his fat, stubby chorizo fingers would fumble over his hotkeys. I found out that his interrupt was bound to the far reaches of his keyboard. L. L? L. I had to look. L? Oh, no. Ew. L. L. Oh, is it somebody who doesn't play with the mouse? We've had that before, where they do two-hand on the keyboard. Oh, no. Ew. Oh, it might be. It might be. We've had that before, where they don't use a mouse. Yeah, hand-off mouse. Yeah, they play with, like, two hands on the keyboard, like they're typing an email or something. His interrupt was bound to the distant reaches of the keyboard, I found out. To the letter L. When I asked him about this, he asked, or suggested, that he didn't have enough keyboard buttons. His response was, should he maybe put it on Shift F9 as a better solution? I'm not making this up. No, I'll copy paste it. I'm not ad-libbing here. Shift F9. This can only be somebody who doesn't play with a mouse. It's the only thing that makes sense. Look. This has to be that way. Shift F9 makes sense. No, it doesn't even make sense then, because they've got to be using the arrow keys to move. I can't even perceive a world where you press Shift F9 in gameplay. He's got to be trolling. We've had a few people who like don't play with a mouse, so I'll play click to move and all that kind of stuff. A left-hander? Could be a left-hander actually. A few left-handed people I know do use mouse right hand and then use the arrow keys. Yeah. Could be. Could be. I don't know. I don't know. I can't picture it. Anyway, we're going to a raid. The group formed. Of course, the only groups that would invite him were a guild run. This was to be a scheduled Mythic Plus dungeon run. Aw. As the group entered, Parasweepers cracked his knuckles, his hooves nervously tapping on the ground. The rest of the group loved Parasweepers, and they didn't mind his low DPS. In fact, they had long since come to accept it and just enjoy being with him. In fact, the fact that he was completely unable to use his character any sensible way, they kind of liked it. There was something so comforting about having Parasweepers around. He had a goofy laugh. He was so funny. And his good, kind nature always made playing the game more fun. He would always, always lift our spirits. As the pulls began, the damage meters flashed into life. His numbers remained low, barely scraping the bottom of the charts. Other players shouted out their cooldowns, casting devastating spells, but Parasweepers worked his way through his buttons, trying to remember what each one did, and following advice he had seen online, had put his important ones in 1, 2, 3, 4. Jesus Christ. 1, 2, 3, 4. That kind of makes sense why you would use L. If you're not playing like this, and you're moving across like this, because when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, you guys are imagining some nice flowing sort of piano motion. But I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and individually pressing things, right? Maybe? He swore he was going to fix his binds after this run and make them more simple. But he swore that every time, after every dungeon. Parasweepers! The raid leader's shout echoed through his headset, shaking him from his thoughts. Parasweepers had yet again failed to interrupt his assigned target. He looked sheepishly at his screen. Of course, the interrupt was miles away from where his hand currently was, bound to that ridiculous key. As a reminder, he did change it to Shift F9 from L. So he went from L to Shift F9. for ease of use. I need diagrams of how this person uses a keyboard. There has to be some logic as to why L is less convenient than Shift F9. I need images. I need some process of how this person's hands work. I need something. I need substance. That's what I need. I need that. His response that made us all laugh out loud. My keyboard's too wide. I actually love that. I would be totally down with someone like legitimately going, dude, my keyboard is so wide. I can't get my hand over there, right? I just can't. My keyboard is too wide, Parasweeper shouted back, laughing through the tension. The group kind of groaned, but it wasn't that groan that carried real frustration. Despite his mistakes, Parasweepers always managed to get out of it with a good laugh. And in some strange way, these blunders were just a part of the fun. The tank shook his head in mock exasperation, but was grinning behind the scene. They made it through the first boss, barely. As they ventured deeper into the dungeon, Parasweepers kept up his running commentary, talking about funny things he had seen in Orgrimmar, his excitement over the new mounts that had come in the patch, and cracking jokes about his own terrible performance. He would drop some zingers like, dudes, if you think I'm bad now, wait until the last boss. I'll probably heal him by accident. That might not sound funny to some of you, but our group erupted in laughter, because it was impossible to be angry at Parasweepers for long. He would turn his failures into comedy gold. I don't know, man. I mean, I've never even played with him, and I kind of want to kick him. It's in there. It's in my heart, dude. I kind of just want to kick him. I'm like, same. I kind of do. I kind of just want to kick him. I just call it good. Well, they made it to that final boss. Everyone was tense, especially since they were running out of time to upgrade the Mythic Plus key. The healer was stressed, the DPS was focused, and Parasweepers was also there. As the fight dragged on, I wish we knew which dungeon it was. As the fight dragged on, the boss unleashed a devastating spell that needed to be interrupted. Parasweepers! He panicked, fingers flailing across the keyboard to hit that big Shift F9, but he had forgotten what he had rebound it to, and hit Shift F8. The boss's spell went off, dealing massive damage to the group. One of you other people must be able to interrupt, right? Don't just blame Parasweepers. There's no boss that does so many spells that I know of in World of Warcraft that requires more than 2 interrupters in a 5-man environment. And the tank can do it, and at least 2 of the DPS can do it, right? He's doing his best, god damn it. Everyone else is playing Shadow Priest. Even the tank and the healer are all playing Shadow Priest. The boss's spell went off. Huge, devastating damage across the entire group. The healer barely kept them alive. Oops, Parasweepers muttered, but a giggle bubbled up. Soon everyone else started chuckling, even the raid leader who had shouted his name in frustration. In the end, they finished the dungeon with seconds left before the key expired. It wasn't a victory for the ages, but it was a victory for all the people who were there. And as they stood there exhausted but triumphant, someone in the group typed into the chat, "Nice work, everyone. Especially you, Parasweepers." And then as if on cue, someone added, "If only your interrupt wasn't bound to another continent." The group laughed and so did Parasweepers. He might not have been the best player, but he was their player. Their goofball. The one who kept things light, who turned our raids into memories, and who, despite all the mistakes, you just wanted him around. I want people to know about people like Parasweepers. Because Parasweepers was not a legend because of his DPS. He was a legend because no matter how many times they shouted his name, he always managed to make them smile. Is this from Ubex? This is a message we got this story. Hello, Preach. I just wanted to send this story written by a dear friend and listener to Drama Time. He did write this after the Ansurek raid. It was a very emotional and tiring raid, but we did it. We killed the heroic queen. After the aftermath, I suppose my friend needed some way to let his emotions out, and he wrote this short story. I am Parasweepers. Oof. Someone wrote you a story. The twist. The twist. Dun, dun, dun. And this is about me. But they wanted to tell you we're a legend. That's nice. I'm not apologizing. You fucking dog shit. Or either that or you've got some sort of like, you know, them like 20-fingered hands or some shit. Like, send us a picture of what your keybinds are. I beg. I truly beg. We need an image. Maybe you are playing on like one of those keyboards from Big. You know? Do you know what I mean? Where they're like, you have to run across it. But I know that's like a piano, but like it could be utilized for a game in the same way. Maybe it's something along those lines. Yeah, like a floor piano thing. That might be the situation. I don't know. It could be. All right, let's get weird. Oh, okay. Oh, we need some names from our live audience here. Our wonderful live audience. Okay, the title is going to be... Oh my god, there's so many names in this. The Mutineers. All right. Don't scatter. All I need from... I'm going to come to you in a sec because I've got to type out like 7 names here. We have a tale for the ages. We're going to need 2 guild names. 1 good, 1 bad. That's what we're going to need. So, give me a sec. We got Kira. We got Delilah. We got Thrumblow. I haven't seen Thrumblow's name in a long time. Ludwig. Scrumpty. And Phil. Oh, we got Glorious Phil. As always, these names are assigned in the tale by our lovely Bex. The Alan Deviants, Rathalos and Rathian, the Colonizers, the Banana Slammers. Alright, the Banana Slammers I like. The Banana Slammers. And press L for interrupts. I like that. Press L for interrupts will be our not so good guild. Press L for interrupts. I like it. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I like that one. That's good. Mutiny. Preach! Chat! I come to you from an unknown place. You don't want us to know what country you're from. You know we can't track you down from your country, right? I come to you bearing a tale of drama and mutiny. And in return... Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, raise them. Now we know why the extra anonymity. Raise them. And in return, I come before the court and I request judgment. I will tell you this before you hear the details. I'm okay with what we did. But I am curious to hear what an onlooker and a jury would think about our actions. We seem to lack guilt. An interesting strategy, to say the least. They don't feel guilty. The case is as follows. Okay. I joined an ahead of the curve guild called the Banana Slammers just before the Dragonflight pre-patch. I was to be a tank of my protection warrior in both raids and their Mythic Plus dungeons. But since I had no prior experience with raiding or tanking, I joined as DPS. Okay. Yeah. That was fine by me. At least I could learn to tank on my own in Mythic Plus dungeons and begin building my raiding confidence. Alright. During Season 1, I got to know the guild and formed a solid relationship with another warrior called Kira. We both loved playing warriors. We were both Mediterranean. Is this Tom? It's Tom. And honestly, both of us shared a sense of humor that was kind of niche. I'll be honest, we still think farts are pretty funny. Farts are always funny in the right moment. That will never not be true. They're contextually funny. That's universally true. That'll be true until the day you die. Not always, 100% not, but in the right moment, in the right context, a fart is crisp. It's crisp comedy. We're getting to the end, then, of Dragonflight Season 1. My big opportunity came when one of our tanks announced that they were going to leave the game. He was a very, very relaxed Blood DK, and in my eyes, the stronger of our two current tanks. So it was my time to step up, and I had some pretty big shoes to fill. The other tank was Angry Phil. Angry Phil seemed fine with me stepping up. But as soon as we started tanking together, problems began. Oh no. Tanking partnerships are not easy, dude. Oh, this is bringing back memories. I don't know how many of you have experienced two pretty good players who cannot work together as a tanking team. And it's just grim. It's just grim. It's so sad to see. Stop taunting. You're taunting too early. I told you to stop taunting. You're taunting too early. Now here's the thing that got my goat. I'm pretty sure I wasn't taunting early. Maybe I taunted early once or twice or something, but every pull? I don't think so. So to avoid arguing, I decided to install a weak aura that broadcast who taunted and when. Okay, I kept the broadcast to myself, but then I realized what was happening. So I put the broadcast on because I found out I wasn't taunting too early. I was over aggroing constantly. That's still your fault. I just want to get this out of the way now. That is still your fault. Okay? You can manage that. Alright? That's still your fault. It was messing up our taunt swaps, our stacks, and basically every single fight. It is. It fucking is. You absolute noobs. It totally is. It's 100%. You do not. You guys are bad. Trust me. I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it. If you are regularly doing this, it is your fault. 100% of the time. 100% of the time. It takes you one pull to realize if I pop all my shit immediately, I'm going to pull aggro. You just wait like 15, 20 seconds until you taunt and go fucking nuts. And it never is a problem again. If you are constantly over aggroing on the pull, you're a shithouse and you deserve to have your keyboard taken off you. Fuck off. Dickhead. I had to deal with this all the time back in the day with people who just couldn't out aggro me. So you just move it down the line by like 15 seconds and it's fine. It's fine. It's all fixed. It's all fixed. So easy. So easy. Fuckers. In hindsight, it's Dragonflight, not vanilla. So what? Has time changed? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, a lot of bad DPSs in chat today. A lot of bad DPSs. During the fight post-pull? Well, he's got to be taking aggro shortly, right? A taunt swap is barely... I'm not getting into this, you fucking shitters. You shitters. I need to blurt my dick all over it constantly the second it's back, even though I don't lose any uptime whatsoever throughout the course of the fight by just checking the logs. I need to blurt it out. That 10 seconds is too much. But you're also correct. You shouldn't be losing later in the fight because of how threat works. But still, you can manage it, is what I'm saying. You can manage it. In hindsight, this was the first red flag. Instead of Angry Phil adjusting to hold aggro. Adjusting to hold aggro. I'm going to be so triggered by this story. What the fuck does adjusting to hold aggro mean? What does that mean? Explain to me adjusting to hold aggro. What is that? Instead of Angry Phil adjusting to hold aggro, the solution was for me to sit in defensive stance to lower my damage. And while that worked for a while, it didn't want it as a long-term solution. I'm a prot warrior, and I want to do damage too. You know you're wiping the raid by fucking this up, right? You pair of cockhounds. Right? You're wiping the raid doing this. I'm getting so pissed off. Look, it sucks having to play with a shit tank. Believe me, I've been there, right? We did decades of tanking. It sucks. But the solution isn't to just, like, wipe the raid. Maybe we won't. Maybe we're going to help our boy out. Maybe we're going to help Phil out. Maybe. Maybe we're going to help Phil out. The second red flag, much of the guild consistently had a grey or green pass in nearly every fight. But you chose to join the guild, right? You checked this. Because clearly they have logs. Because you can see their passes. So... you would have checked this before joining, right? They would stand in mechanics and miss key moments. They recruited you with having zero experience as a tank. You're not joining Liquid, okay? They recruited a new tank who had never tanked before, all right? Just to give you some flagging here of what you were joining in the first place and what you might have been expecting even if you didn't check. Anyway, and I'm not just talking on the first few nights of progress that we've died to these things, but all season. We'd usually clear by brute forcing with gear. But you've got grey and green passes. I'm relying on a handful of high damage players who would carry the team. Those players were also the ones that pushed M+ and took gaming seriously. Ah, the click. There it is. There it is. And ba-dong, there it is. There it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know who you are now. You joined a shitter guild, and you're too good for it, but you're going to stick around for a while and maybe even fuck them over. That's why you said you were guilty. I see. It wasn't until Dragonflight Season 3... How many months is that? How many months is 3 full seasons in Dragonflight? That's like 9 months. Yeah, 9 months, I think. It's like every 3 months or so. 12. So you stuck around for a year. All right, okay. It wasn't until Dragonflight Season 3 that Hans, our guild leader, finally spoke to Angry Phil about his tanking. Why didn't you? You're a team. Why didn't you... A year? 9 months? You're a team. There's only two of you. You're a team. It's just you two. Even then, the aggro issue only partly improved after Angry Phil got the legendary axe to boost his damage. By that point, the whole team was growing frustrated for various reasons, and raid nights weren't any fun anymore. It didn't help that Angry Phil considered himself to be a very good tank, because he rarely died, and that wasn't helping. I'm getting, like, heart palpitations. Talk to each other. Just fucking talk to each other. Dude, I keep over-aggroing you. What's your opening rotation? Are you potting on opener or something like that? You know, we got anything? Like, there's so many fucking 2-second conversations you could have to be like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like, we need to fix this because we've got a similar item level, so we shouldn't be, like, having this issue, really. Do you know that you can get bonus threat during, like, taunt windows and things like that? Like, that might help. Our guild, was it Guildmaster? I'm losing the plot on this one. Okay, some of our best DPSers had actually quit raiding, saying that they didn't have time and preferred to focus on keys with their push group. Later I learned they just didn't want to deal with our raid knights or our raid leader. Okay. Hans, our raid leader, was a unique problem too. Even though we were required to use encounter weak auras and either DBM or bigwigs, he would still call out every mechanic constantly. Right? Have you watched the Race to World First? They do this all the way to the top. Every pull. Every pull. They do that all the way to the tops. Even with literal weak aura technicians behind the scenes. Making shit. Alright? That's very normal. And you know why? Because people get lost in the sauce. They stare at the boss. They'll be looking at a damage meter or something and they'll miss something that hasn't happened to them in like 20 pulls. That's why. So when you hear preach, you're like, oh, yeah, there's a thing happening in, right? It's just a double checker. He complained about mistakes mid-pull. That I disagree with. You shouldn't be bitching during mid-pull. He would narrate every detail of his deaths. Oh, no, it's Lorgok. It's Lorgok's story time of why he died in the middle of the pull. And generally chatter non-stop. Yeah, we've got a Derek situation. We've got a class 4 Lorgok situation. Story time. It was like a bad stand-up routine when we were just trying to focus. Worse, he did the same in his keys, narrating his mistakes, questioning pulls. Oh, we're pulling these? Question mark? Even though he wasn't the tank and didn't know the route. Maybe he's pretending to be a live streamer, but without actually clicking go live. Maybe he's doing that. I've just done this for like 18 days without knowing if anybody was watching, so there you go. Sometimes that's the dream. All this, plus the fact that trying to voice concerns to Hans was like yelling into a void. It should give you a good idea of how things are. Okay. Kind of. I do sense a lot of ego coming from you, though. Like, a lot. So, we'll see how this goes. Let's go forward to the War Within Season 1. So you stayed there throughout all of Dragonflight. Okay. In these miserable raid conditions. So you decided to stay for a whole expansion. All right. And you're still staying. Okay. We start with normal on a Thursday and heroic on a Sunday. 2.5 hours each raid night. A 2.5 hour raid? Who can be asked? That's like, what? 5 Alatreon tries? Okay. It was the same schedule since Dragonflight Season 2. In general, normal bosses went down pretty quickly. Our first roadblock appeared in Heroic, with the second boss, the Bloodbound Horror. That's Spinny Guy, right? Yeah, I'm correct. It's the Spinny Pool Guy. Yeah. Really? That was the roadblock? Huh. We did manage to kill him and Sakran that first night, but here's the funny part. Angry Phil wasn't with us. I had a new tank with me to help him out with... Oh, yeah, I mean, you don't want a bad tank there. Shout out to our tanks. It was Jason Ravenspire who did it for us, right? Shout out to our tanks who had that nailed down in, like, the second pull. Rock and roll. Rock and roll. That needs some good tank positioning on that fight. Big shout outs. Was it Joel, actually? I think it was Jace, Joel, and Ravenspire who did the tanking for our last heroic runs. We'll be doing that again in the new season, by the way. Just not at launch. I had a new tank with me, and to help him out with positioning, we moved to a different voice channel to avoid the chaotic callouts. I walked him through it, and we killed the boss. You hero. Round of applause, right? What a legend. What a legend. You know what you did there? It's pretty weird. What you did was work together with your fellow tank. Pretty incredible stuff. Pretty magical. You work together as a team. Yeah. Pretty nuts. Our next big roadblock. We all remember it, of course. Brood Twister. But after a few wipes on our second night, we actually killed it. The same with Kai Veza. Well played. The next real challenge, of course, was the Silken Court. If any of you didn't see Silken Court, the fight has two bosses, a melee one that needs to be tanked and a caster one that spams bolts. Issues here. Phil can't move a boss. Because Phil was struggling to move the boss to appropriate positions, it was decided... You do need a bit of WoW knowledge for this one as to why this is a bad idea. That that I would deal with the caster boss as a warrior, while he on a death knight would tank the other one. So I would deal as a warrior with the boss that spams heavy magical damage. Yes. Wait, what? Bro. Right? Bro. The good news is, though, the boss didn't hit very hard, and I didn't need defensives for the melee's big tank, for the boss's big tank buster, so I could focus them on surviving my bolt barrages. It took us 10 pulls to kill Heroic Silken Court. Good job. And that's when the end began, Mike. Heroic Queen Ansurek. Okay. Look. I may have been a bit harsh up until now, but we all have nightmares of Heroic Queen Ansurek. Shout-outs. Shout-outs to Heroic Queen Ansurek. That is an experience to behold. Holy hell, was our team not ready for this. That first night, we wiped 16 times in P1. Imagine that. That would be awful. That would be... absolutely awful. And painful. How many people are you raiding with, out of interest? With only one pull that ever got to the intermission. Now, we did have 2.5 hours. That's not a lot of P1 pulls. That's like 50 P1 pulls. So some context as to why this happened. It's 10 man. That's pretty grim on 10 man. Every pull, friends, just took forever. After each wipe, Hans decided to go through the logs and review the mechanics. And if he found people had taken damage for anything, he would then go over the mechanic again. We would then spend some time after each pull going through the logs and rehashing positioning as we all watched on Discord. Oh God, kill me. While this was going on, there was loot drama forming following the Silken Court. Let me guess. What the fuck was it called? It's the caster trinket. 100% it's the caster trinket. Spy Masters. Yeah, Spy Masters. The following night on reset, we re-cleared up to the Queen with a few wishes on Princess again. Thanks to Phil's inability to move the boss. We had another 5 wipes in P1 and 6 wipes into the intermission. That's right. This is intermission 1, I guess. We raided again the next night. 9 wipes in P1, 10 in the intermission, and 6 at the start of P2. You are progressing. Where you had to kill the boys up on the bridges and kill more ads before the cast finishes. Yes, indeed. Mike, this was our final raid night with the Banana Slammers. A week before this, we had already begun preparation for Plan B. A brand new guild called Press L to Interrupt. We had all made alts, those of us who were capable, to sign the guild charter, and then never logged in with them again. We initially planned to be very helpful. Is that right? Then why so secretive? We had all agreed we were going to help the Banana Slammers get ahead of the curve and then leave on good terms. There's the ego. Because you're doing them a favor, right? That ego keeps coming back because you're doing them a favor, because you're the hard carries, which may be true. That may be true. It's very obvious to see if you're hard carrying, but not the idyllic way to look at things. Both Kira and I are officers. She tried to tell Hans repeatedly that we needed more DPS. People had to put in time into keys and get more gear to study fights so we wouldn't waste half the night on mechanics, and to skip normal runs since we had outgrown those items. I was happy to tank keys for our guildmates to help them gear, but most just couldn't be arsed with Mythic Plus. Okay. So after seeing nothing would change, we decided we wouldn't stay and we would leave. Kira, myself, Delilah, Ludwig, and Thrumblow. A few days later, is this like most of your... maybe it's not 10 men. This is a lot of people. A few days later, another guildie, Scrompty, joined us as well. The moment we left, the raid team was crushed. In one swift motion, they had lost 1 tank, 2 healers, 2 DPS, and our raid team consisted of 12 to 14 people. It was a serious blow. I swear to you all, we really did try to leave on good terms, and for a while it seemed to be going that way. But as we later learned, in our defense from Scrumpty, and the reason they left, Hans was starting a smear campaign about us, calling us elitists, that we weren't joining in with the community, and that we would regret leaving if we ever did, because we didn't understand the stress of running a guild. A spoiler alert for all of you, we didn't regret it for a second. I was away the week after we left, visiting family, and the new guild, Press L for Interrupt, cleared up to Queen in one night, and with the help of a few pugs who later joined the guild... with the help of a few pugs that later joined the guild. And after I returned and our core team was set, we killed the Queen in about 30 pulls. I want to tell you all that the Banana Slammers still, to this day, hasn't cleared the raid on Heroic. Oh, we still check their logs. Why? And we even get screenshots from their raid nights. Why? Let it go. Their team is now down to 6 or so core raiders, and the rest is just pugs. So here's my question, Preach. Are we really the baddies? Should we have stayed to keep wiping on Queen, enduring the same frustrations? Thanks for all you do, and have a good one. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Yeah. I mean, realistically, if you were making it to the bridge phase, you probably had 1 more week of progress on Queen. Right? Realistically speaking, you probably had 1 more week of progress. If you're at the bridge and you can get there a few times, you're going to have that pull that gets into the end. You probably need, 7 or 8 at that point to kill the end, the last phase. So, yeah. But I would honestly recommend... I actually brought this up before drama time tonight. I would recommend you go and listen to one of my older drama stories, because you sound exactly as I was. Which is when you have that feeling that you're just infinitely better than the people around you. And you can be. Don't get me wrong, you can be. But the way you treat those people is probably not a good thing to do. And there are way better ways of doing it. Way. Yeah, I mean, I was a very, very elitist player. But it's easy to be elitist when you're playing with weaker players. That changes rather dramatically when you go and play with really good players. And you're like, oh. Oh, it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond is what I'm telling you, right? It's easy to be a big fish in a small pond, and then you move to a bigger pond, and you're like, oh, shit. Well, you're surrounded by much better people. That's where it gets a little iffy and a little questionable. So I don't blame you. I'm just forewarning you that, it might not always be that way, and clicks can poison guilds very quickly. Very, very quickly. Even good ones that don't deserve to die can fall apart. True, though. True. So, yes. I don't blame a guild for being bad, especially if they're not advertising. They are ahead of the curve guild, right? I mean, they're not now because you guys all left, but when you joined, they weren't lying. They weren't making shit up. Their logs are public, seemingly. People could check. They weren't concealing anything. They were innocent. Right? They were innocent. They weren't hiding anything. They were honest. They were straight up. They were looking for it. They were looking for more casual fun, eventually get over the boss hill. So, yes, I declare you guilty. I do. Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. That does bring us to the end of drama time for this week, ladies and gentlemen. We're not streaming this weekend. I'm building our new streaming PC tomorrow, which I'm excited for. It's going to be fun. I'm not going to stream it because it's just swapping parts and cleaning it up for Mr. Chris to do his software shenanigans with. But on Monday, Fat Alice awaits. We will be looking at Fat Alice. We will be making the decision that day as to whether to push on or not. And we'll be moving on to a different game until Monster Hunter Wilds launches at the end of the month. So we'll see. So on Monday, it should be very exciting. Should be very nice. All right. So until then, after so many 10-hour streams today, I don't know what our next game is. Bex is in command. I know that they've been working on something and it's all ready to go. She's Pepe laughing in the chat right now. So whatever it's going to be is what it's going to be. But for now, I'll say goodbye and I'll see you on Monday. Bye, ladies and gentlemen.